Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Mr. Rogers' afternoon clay class. Today, I will be making a 5" by 5" clay slab. I'll be making 6 to 8 of these slabs, and I will be putting these slabs together to make a cube. And so I have a piece of well-wedged clay here that I've pre-flattened, and I'm gonna send these down to a 1/2 inch. These are 1/2 inch dowels, and I have a rolling pin, and my other tools I need are a knife of some kind, and a needle tool is really important to have, and a rolling pin. So I'm gonna flatten the clay out, and it's important to remember that when you flatten clay with the rolling pin, that the clay is going to stretch away from you and towards you, but not much to the left or to the right. The template I'm going to use today is this piece of 5 by 5 paper, cut to a perfect square, or as perfect as I could get. And so this slab has to fit this piece of paper, so it's going to be at least that big. So I have the height that way, so I'm going to turn the slab. You notice I'm working on a shirt here, an old t-shirt, piece of fabric. If the surface that you work on sticks to the clay real badly, which is often the case at home, you can put just on a piece of fabric, or you could work on a cardboard box, and when you press your slab into the table, it won't stick to the table, and you can peel away the fabric pretty easily. All right, so there is a perfect round 1/2 inch slab, and it fits my template perfectly. Before I go on, I'm going to add my texture to the slab, and whatever you can find to put texture in. I'm going to use this piece of rubber skid plate here. Leaves pressed into the clay really well. I'm gonna go this way. And the bottoms of sneakers can press into the clay pretty well. There we go. And then I'm gonna go this way with it. And that should be a nice texture. There we go. Like that. Now that I'm done all the pressing, the aggressive pressing with the rolling pin, I'm going to lose this shirt here, this piece of fabric. Let's go right down onto the tabletop. This will be a little bit easier, I think, to cut it out. And I got to decide how I want to orientate my texture. I think I like this pattern like this, pretty good. And I take my needle and carefully cuts. Along the edge of my template. Now, when we put this slab cube together, we're going to bevel the edges of the slab, so we don't have to incorporate the thickness of the slab in our measurements to build the cube. So to facilitate that, we're going to cut a bevel into it. So there's my slab, and if I got to cut a bevel, and if I want the texture to be on the outside of the cube, then I have to flip the side. I'm going to turn it a little bit, and I'm going to take a knife and I'm going to bevel the edge. So to bevel the edge, I take the knife and I pitch it at a 45. I'm going to slice a piece of this clay off, and I'm going to slice a piece off that I'm just going to guesstimate somewhere like here. And the reason I'm slicing off that much is because that's about the thickness of the clay. So that's about a 1/2 inch. So if I show you that, and then show you the thickness of the clay, they're similar, maybe a little wider. We'll go a little lower. And I'm gonna do this to all 4 sides. And it might not make sense now, but when the box goes together, it will be clear. So that's about a 45. Whereas this is 0, this is 90, that's a 45. And you know, you're working with clay, so it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to get close. It's like horseshoes. All right, and then this piece becomes scrap clay and goes into my scrap pile right there, which I'll use for later, the next slab. And then I turn, and then I bevel this edge the same way. Now I could draw that line, but I've been doing it long enough where I can just sort of eye it up. And if your slabs, when they go together, don't quite match up perfect, it's okay, it's clay. You can add clay or subtract a little clay to get the pieces to come together. All right, here is a 5x5 slab with a beveled edge. So if we look at that edge this way, you can see the 45-degree angle right there. And if you'd imagine 5 more of these going together, they would meet on those 45s to make 90s. All right, that's how I roll out and texture and cut out and bevel a 5x5 slab.